Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on historic Route 66 with our Tuesday live stream Q&A, Ask the Series 7 Guru. We'll take some, housekeeping, take care of that, and then we'll answer any questions you may have, content questions. Let's take care of our housekeeping. Tell us what series exam you're taking and where you're joining us from. We're here every Tuesday. If you do have a question, tell us what exam it is. It's helpful because there's a lot of overlapping kind of information. So how they test on one exam versus another can be different. It's not necessary, but it's helpful, right? SIE or S7 with a capital Q followed by your question. I see we already have a couple in the queue, and I'll knock those out as soon as I get this done. If you're looking for a free supplement, the best free supplement is my YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is organized by series. So you find your series exam, SIE, for example, in the playlist. You go to the playlist tab or the homepage, and you'll see that there are 3, I think, SIE playlists or 4. The playlists are in suggested watch order. The SIE, for example, starts with a podcast series. That's a playlist 1. Playlist 2 is a cram course, which is the equivalent of my 3 or 4 day class. Then there's other lectures, and then there's a whole playlist of practice tests and practice questions. So that's if you're looking to, binge. If you're looking for a particular topic, please use the channel search bar. I can't tell you how many times I get an explication request on a question that I've already explicated that's on the channel. Like a guy said he's looking for something on convertibles. We'll put convertibles or parity into the channel search bar, and I told him 30 videos will show up. So that's the best way. You don't want to try and find a needle in a haystack. There's over 1,400 videos and a couple thousand hours of content. Now, if you're looking for a paid supplement, I think the best paid supplement is a Kaplan Q Bank if you don't already have one. The discount code for Kaplan at checkout is Guru15. And you can get a Series 7 Q Bank for as little as $55.80, 3,600 questions, a performance tracker. You can manipulate it. I think it's the best out there. And if you combine that with Brian Lee Test Geek Exam Prep LLC, that's $100 for his video courses, and he gives our viewers a 20% discount on his content. So feel free, if you're looking for a paid supplement, to check that out. I am next week teaching a collaborative class. I collaborate with Kaplan once a quarter. This quarter, we're doing the Guru Exam Prep Kaplan Series 7, February 18th through 20th. You can register for that on the Kaplan website. And again, that 15% discount applies. We do a weekly Q&A jam session. You can find that on the booking page. That's deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. And you can join us for that. I don't think I put up the one for next week, but check it out. I'll put it up either tonight or tomorrow. It does disappear magically when 10 people register. So there is a cap. So if you're not seeing it there, it's usually, because it's already maxed out. We do have social media communities. We have a Facebook community, Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Baby Broker is a term of endearment for rookies in the securities industry. A hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame. So SIE 663 or SIE 766, you get the idea. We have Reddit communities for the Series 6, R Series 6. We have a subreddit community for the SIE and Series 7, R Series 7. And we have a community for 63, 65, 66. And that's R66 and 4, 9s, 10s, 24s, 57s, 79s, R Series 24. This is available as a podcast on Spotify and YouTube once we're done. So that's available for you. It looks like my wingman is joining us. So let me get Brian into the mix here. Boom, there is our friend Brian. Let's get rid of this just so it's a little easier to see. There we go. I'll get rid of that banner. Welcome, Brian.
Good evening. How are you?
All right. Let's see what I was just doing the housekeeping. So I think we're done with the housekeeping. And so let's now see what we got in the comments. Oh, boy. Busy night here off grid. Brian is in Las Vegas. I can tell because he's got his glitzy whiteboard. Rosa. Okay. So when entering a buy stop limit or sell stop limit, is the word elected similar to the word triggered? It's the exact same word. It's a contingent event. I'm telling my broker, if this, then that. I said, Brian, if it trades at or through, do you want to turn your order into a market order or a limit order? It may, Brian, never get executed. So anytime you add a qualifier contingent to an order, it's less likely it's going to get executed. And here you've got two qualifiers, at or through, and then your price or better. Nobody has to do business with your price or better. Now, Rosa, it doesn't turn into a market order. It never turns into a market order because you told me it's a buy stop limit or a sell stop limit. When the trigger, those become limit orders. If it doesn't say the word limit, then it turns into a market order. So I say, Brian, when it trades at or through, do you want to turn it into a market order or do you want to turn it into a limit order? Your choice. The stop has one contingent event. The main use, there are three uses, Rosa, for a stop loss order. Test question number one. If you're trying to make sure you're stopping the loss, you're stopping the bleeding, don't make it a stop limit because you may never get out of that thing. But we use stops to stop losses, to protect profits, and to establish stock positions. Now, whenever there's three of a thing, Rosa, they love on the test, the except format. I say, Brian, are you trying to stop a loss, protect a profit, or establish a stock position with this stop order? He goes, well, none of those. I go, well, then you're confused, my friend, because those are the three uses. It looks like Brian's got his board. Brian, you want to add to that?
Not too much, Dean. You pretty much hit most of the categories. Again, because you know how I do this, right? I'm concerned with most likely what shows up on the test. I know the textbooks like to include the stop limit, those double contingency orders. You generally don't see a lot of, again, depending on what test we're talking about here, Series 65, probably not.
I think Rosa has joined us in the past. I think she's a Series 7 candidate, I think.
Series 7?
Let us know, Rosa.
He could be a stop
Oh,
limit.
Series 7 tomorrow. Then what are you doing here, Rosa? You should be sleeping. I'm just front running here, little Brian.
That's okay. What I would tell most people out there, be solid on the basic definitions of the three. Yeah. The publishers like to add that limit to the stop order, which just blows up many people. But as long as you're solid on just the basic three, you should be primarily pretty good.
Rosa, the only order that has no contingency, no qualifier is a market order. Market order, immediate execution, best available price. You're more interested in execution than price. I think where people get hung up, Brian, is they think there's a zillion types of orders. There's not. There's only two, market and limit. Now, you can add zillions of qualifiers. Tomorrow, Rosa, that's not going to be the difference. And I love your scores, so there's no reason for you not to be getting a good night's rest. The most important thing tomorrow is to be confident in the execution of your study plan. I would, with those data set you showed us, I would be very confident in the execution of your study plan. Be confident in yourself. Most importantly, be confident in your answers tomorrow. Now, Rosa, when you wake up in the morning, I want you to go into the mirror and I want you to say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest Series 7 test taker of them all? Rosa, Rosa, Rosa. Hoorah. I don't think you're at risk. So I'd be, join us next Tuesday. Let us know your testing victory. I have no reason to believe, Rosa, that you're not going to make your mark. For Series 66, can you help with forwards and futures? I certainly can. It's on 65 as well. It's actually, John, easier than options because there is no calls and puts. I buy if I think the price is going up. I sell if I think the price is going down. A great article, John, you can Google it, Hershey. Hershey is afraid of the price of cocoa going up, right? So to hedge with their cocoa price, they're going to buy futures. In fact, Brian, they asked the CFTC to be able to violate the position limits in cocoa futures because they feel they need a bigger hedge in place. The idea, John, is that what they lose in paying more for cocoa, they're going to make up in the futures contract they have. Now, the difference, John, why would Hershey not want to use a forward? Well, can you imagine Hershey calling some cocoa farmer in Colombia and saying, hey, I want to have you deliver at a future date X, I don't know, cocoa's in bushels? I think cocoa's are in bushels. I don't know. Anyways, they would have counterparty risk. Forwards aren't standardized. There is no contract. It's not as liquid as the futures. So in the beauty contest between forwards and futures, futures are the winner. right? Let's say I'm Kiko Man. I make soy sauce. I'd be afraid of soybeans going up. Now, one thing I could do is go to the mine Iowa and find a guy who grows soybeans and say, hey, for future delivery, what do I owe you? Now, he has to worry about me coming up with the money. I have to worry about the quality of soybeans, how many he's got. It's just easier to use the futures to either speculate or to hedge. Brian, your thoughts? I see you got your board again.
It's exactly right. And to kind of simplify that even more, Dean used an excellent example with Hershey. Hershey is a very large consumer of cocoa. I believe in my courses, I always use the airlines, who were very big consumers of jet fuel, gasoline, petroleum, that kind of thing. So in order to hedge gasoline prices, they would buy gasoline futures or oil futures. So a simple way of trying to remember this is that the consumers of the commodity, right, they're the ones that are afraid that the price is going up. They're the ones who buy the futures. The producers, the Guatemalan cocoa producer or whomever, they're afraid the prices are going down, so they sell futures. So that's one way, producers versus consumers.
You do in the futures market what you're going to do in the cash market or spot market later on, right? So again, if I'm selling my soybeans, I'm not afraid the soybean price is going to go up by the time I harvest. I'm afraid it's going to go down. So in the spot market, I'm going to be selling soybeans, as Brian says. So I'm going to sell the futures contract. Again, the idea is I'm going to make up in the hedge some of my profit or loss in what's called the spot market. The spot market is just the current price. All right, let's see what else we got. For 65, what should I know about employee stock options, incentive versus non-qualified? Well, incentive stock options, if you, Brady, your employer gives you a choice and says, hey, you get to choose what kind of options do you want. You want incentive or you want non-qualified? I would, Brady, recommend incentive stock options because when you receive them, you're vested, it's not immediately taxable. So there's a tax advantage to the incentive stock options. Non-qualified, when you're vested, you owe taxes. It's part of your compensation. Elon, remember, had non-qualified stock options in Tesla. And when he vested, he owed $9 billion in taxes. And so he had to sell a lot of this Tesla stock to actually pay the taxes on that. Had those been incentive stock options, he could have held on to them and he would have realized the tax when he exercised or when he sold. Anything you want to add to that, Brian?
No, that's exactly right. And there typically may be one question on that.
Yeah, I think, Brian and I don't get us going on a rant tonight because we don't want to turn this into a test prep vendor bashing session. But a lot of things, it hurts our heart, Brady, when Brian and I have test takers who are worried about things we think are more important in test prep vendor practice questions than they are material to your success on the exam. I'm not saying that's not there, but if you tell us you missed your mark, you tell Brian and I because of incentive stock options versus non-qualified options, I'm going to say, you had a bigger problem somewhere. Here to say thanks. Pass the 7. Woo-hoo. Well, yeah, Robert, Reddit won't let me say your name because I have haters on social media. Michael Weiss is the moderator of the Reddit called Series 7 Exam and Series 66 Exam. We have our own Reddit, Robert, where you can go, our Series 7, and more than happy to post, and you can use my name. But my mention of my name and myself, I am blocked on Michael Weiss's Reddit, which I think is petty and insecure, but it is what it is, right? So you can certainly go on the R Series 7 Reddit. That's my Reddit that I started when Michael banned me from his.
Yeah, I told you he threatened to go to FINRA about me one time.
He's such a hater. It's ridiculous. And I told him I would never mention their names in their on my YouTube channel or my Reddit, but I told him, hey, reciprocity. If you guys are going to be talking shit about me, then I'll be talking shit about you. So the other thing
I don't even.
Brian doesn't participate in social media. I'm, for all intents and purposes, his social media defender and manager.
Yes, you are.
Did I tell you that Brian Marks? He actually banned Brian Marks.
Did he really?
Marks. Yeah, he didn't know what Brian Marks. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He said, "What the heck?" He goes, he posted on our 24, and he's been very helpful, making major contributions. And I said, "Hey, thanks for showing up on social media." I said, "Does anybody even know who you are?" Because it says BJ Marks, and he goes, "Well, I think some people do." And he goes, "Hey, what's up with this? Where I got banned?" It's I told them I think they, they obviously have an agenda that isn't about helping test takers. Taking the 66 tomorrow. You should be great, Kate. You should be good. Should be good.
83 is good. Nice score.
Going for my 24, Cynthia, man.
Cynthia!
Yeah,
Hey,
we talk
girl,
about
what's going on?
we talk about the hat trick, but some people like Cynthia, man, they go, SIE 7, 66, 24. Best practices. 24 is a slog. I don't know. Best practice is 24. Brian, I'm kind of coming up with a blank. I think whatever you're doing, Cynthia, do the same, right?
What I usually tell people about the 24 is that it is unlike the other exams in that they kind of already assume you know the rules and then make you apply them. It's a less linear exam. Most of you guys who've used my stuff know that I always teach linear for multiple choice exams. The 24 is probably least linear.
A lot of judgment.
Application question.
A lot of judgment. And you got to read real closely, right? Reading test. Cade, I think this is a terrible question. What should you be doing tonight? You should be done tonight. Your agenda for testing tomorrow is to get a good night's sleep because you need to be well rested tomorrow because you need your reading skills in top form. Anything you'd be doing tonight, I think, would be counterproductive. There's nothing good that can happen from cramming the night before. Those days are over.
You're done.
You're not going to cram the night before a FINRA or a NASAA exam and do anything productive. Now, I know a tiger can't change the stripes, and I've had, Brian, many test takers who I cannot convince that they need to just get a good night's rest. I like to smoke a cigar, have a nice scotch. I know I had a guy who likes to go fishing. Maybe I call Brian. I say, hey, Brian, I got a big day tomorrow. Can you have an adult beverage and a nice steak dinner with me and talk me off the ledge? You got to make sure you're just kind of managing yourself, your psyche. So at this point, Kate, psyche and rest are more important than anything else you could do this evening. So that's my answer to what you should be doing tonight. Be thinking the test. Let the test come to you. Don't be too on top of this. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's at this point, if your test is 8 a.m., 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful. I mean, there's a happy medium between, doing that. Let's see where we at. Boom. There's scored 65, scored a 91 last Thursday. So in reload, coming live from Northern Kentucky near Cincinnati. Yeah, that's interesting, that border there. I think Fidelity has a major operation, I think, in Kentucky, and I think it's just on the other side of the river from Ohio. So, that's the way to do it, right? Refresh, reset. And, I always joke, you go into the cave to slay the dragon. Sometimes you come out of the cave and the dragon is still there, and you got to come back and get him again. But I say the good news, Garrett, is you got a good look at the dragon. So next time you go in the cave, you'll have a better idea of, how to slay that 65 dragon. All right. Woohoo. We ring the bell for our testing victories. For whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So we always like Romulus. You're always welcome. It's good for morale. Now, we're mainly here for content, but we do like fun. We do like fellowship, and we do like to give some people a morale boost. And when victorious test takers, Romulus, like you, come back and share your victory, I think that lifts everybody's spirits, and it's very good for, as we said, other people's psyche. So I just want to thank you, attitude of gratitude for doing so. And Romulus, I love your name. I just think that's so cool. I wish I was a Romulus. Thank you, Carla. Just pass. All right. Woo-hoo.
I like it.
Did use your code? All right, cool. I just was asking Brian how we're doing with the Guru 20 sales code, discount code. Brian's been kind enough. Brian, I already gave the housekeeping where I always share the paid supplements.
Right.
I think that Brian's paid supplement, if you're looking for paid supplement, I'm not a hater. I know I'm sounding like a hater tonight, but somebody asked me that they said, Dean, Achievable claims that they have a 95% pass rate. What do you think? And I said, well, read the fine print, LOL. And I said, my problem is that I'm not happy as a person who helps people pass tests on the variance in their scores. And I don't know many people, so 95%, that are using it as their primary Series 7 study material. I think there are a lot of people are using it as a paid supplement. And I pivoted, Garrett, and I said, if you're looking for a paid supplement, I think a better paid supplement is a Kaplan Q-Bank and Brian's video courses. With the 15% discount code at Kaplan and Brian's generous 20% discount code, it's 100 something, 50 something, all in for that paid supplement 150. And then I think you're cooking with fire then, as compared to using Achievable as your paid supplement. Can 24 is a 10 group tutoring? Yeah, certainly, Cynthia. I'm pretty expensive on tutoring. I'm $275 an hour, and it's pretty hard to find a spot because most of my business is referral with private equity firms and venture capital firms. But if you're already an alumna, I think, Cynthia, you are, I will make sure I can find a spot for you. And you are allowed to share those. I don't care if you form a syndicate. I'm sometimes surprised. I have an insurance company and I forget. I don't know why I forget because they do this a lot. But I hit the button. There's like 15 people. And whoa, okay. That's going to be one of those sessions. So you're more than welcome to split the cost on my tutoring. What usually is somebody books and then they can share the link. Brian does tutoring as well. What are you at, Brian? Brian doesn't do it as much because he's busy doing other things. No, 150, I think it's 150 or 125. 125. Taking my Series 7 on Thursday. Watch all of your explication videos and practice as well. Do you have any recommend I really focus on now? Well, again, Hannah, I think it's the same thing we told Cade. So you're Tuesday, you got tomorrow. So whatever you're doing tomorrow afternoon, it's kind of over, right? So tomorrow I would just do something like get your rhythm, keep your rhythm. I'd like to know what your practice test scores are, but at this point, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're going Thursday. So I would just be, again, same thing. Tomorrow, stay away from any energy vampires. Just guard your psyche and make sure you're well rested tomorrow night so you can go in there Thursday and make your mark. Or as Brian likes to say, get your pee, get your pee.
Get to pee.
Whoop, what happened there? Woohoo! Well, Eric, it's kind of odd. I mean, it's odd that you just passed the 63, and now you're asking, should you take a 66 or a 65? Because, Eric, I would have told you to take the 66 to begin with. The 66 only works in conjunction with the 7. So maybe I'm missing here. Maybe you went 663. If you went SIE 663, I would suggest 65 because that is the only thing that makes sense in that scenario. If you're doing this without sponsorship, in other words, you know that you can take an SIE and you can take NASAA exams without sponsorship, I would recommend the 65 again because you don't have a 7. Now, the 65 is something that can get you employed at a fee-based investment advisor without a 6, without a 7, right? Like Fisher Investments, for example. So that would be, I'd like more information. But, you know, I've heard, Brian, it drives me nuts that some people are recommending that people who are taking a 7 should take a 63 and a 65 rather than a 66, which is stupid. It's asinine because they came up with the 66 because people were complaining about the overlap on 63, 65. And so they came with a 66, so you don't have to take 2 exams. So 65 is 130 questions, 66 is 100. So I hope that's helpful. I'd like to know more background, Eric. Yeah, well, 63, 65, Carla, equals 66. If you have a 63, 65, it's the equivalent of a 66. Oh, my, Spencer. Woo, baby. Super chat for $50. Well, no, I got to tell you, Spencer, that's odd. $49.99. I don't think you're able to do cents anymore. Didn't President Trump say no more cents? I guess digitally we can still have cents, right? Hey, Dean, got my hat trick last week. Can't take you enough. You're welcome. Hey, thanks so much for the super chat. If you're ever in Vegas, please, look us up. Brian has a place there as well. And yeah, Brian and I, we can easily enjoy your $50 super chat. I will make it a point that we do so.
There you go.
We'll hoist an adult beverage in honor of Spencer's testing.
Absolutely.
Right on. We've been talking, Spencer. Brian and I, we got to, firm up our kind of what, our aspirational things and turn them into a little more solid. But we were talking at one time, maybe doing a live stream instead of in, Brian's, place in Vegas and my off-grid studio, maybe going live at like the Hawthorne or something.
That would be great.
I might, would you think it would be fun? I think it'd be fun, don't you?
Fun. Yeah.
And then we could put out like an invite and have people join us. Hey, you want to fly to Vegas and join us in person? There you go. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Is a qualified customer. I think I answered this before in social media. Did I not? Qualified. The answer is no. A qualified customer is somebody that we can charge performance-based fees for investment advice. Period. Full stop. An accredited investor is a much different thing. An accredited investor is someone who can participate in a Reg D private placement. That's it. Period. Full stop. It means nothing other than that. To say I'm an accredited investor, all that means is that I can participate in a Reg D private placement. And then again, you get tested on the definitions of an accredited investor. 1, 2, 3, I think is good to remember it. $1 million net worth, 200,000 income, 300,000 filing jointly, a 7 in good standing, a 65 in good standing. That's what that means. So be real careful on your NASA exams. An accredited investor is a retail investor on NASA exams, entitled to the protections of the Uniform Securities Act. So be careful on that. Brian, would you add anything to that?
Nope, you got it.
Yeah, so just be careful. The other thing about performance-based fees is I have to disclose to you there's an incentive for me to take greater risk if I'm getting performance-based fees. And then the other thing to know on those NASA exams is what are typical benchmarks for performance-based fees. If I'm a small cap manager, maybe it's a Russell 2000. If I'm an international investor, EFA. If I'm a large cap manager, S&P 500. So that's all testable. Working on the 66. What should I have ready or know before going into live sessions with Kaplan to take full advantage of class and time with the presenter? Good question, Gerard.
That is good.
It's always a challenge when we're teaching classes because everybody comes to class a little differently. So here's my ideal kind of student coming to class, Gerard. And then I'd be interested in say, Brian, I think Brian and I are simpatico, or my guess is. I think you should be using, everybody does it differently. Some people come to class, Gerard, to use it to kick off their study effort. They just want to see what this looks like, cover to cover, so to speak, and then they're going to start their study effort. Most people are using this towards the end of their study effort to confirm test issues. So I assume that the ideal candidate for me has done the work. They've laid their base knowledge. They've done a couple practice tests. They have some things they want to clear up or clarify, as you just brought up. And I think they've earned the right to ask those questions. So I get some people get a little perturbed with me, but when somebody has done the work, they deserve to get their questions answered. The aggravating person, Gerard, who comes to class as a test taker, somebody hasn't prepared adequately enough where they're answering questions that destroy the rhythm of the group in terms of trying to work our way through the material. So don't be that kind of a student, right? Make sure you've done enough work that your questions are kind of informed, or at least in the ballpark. They're not out in left field somewhere. Brian, your thoughts on what will you consider to be?
You're absolutely right. We are completely simpatico. Again, many of you may have seen my 3-pillar process on how to study and pass these exams. So at least the first pillar, which you've been through a significant portion of the textbook, practice questions, right? What we do in class then is to consolidate and focus solely on testable material. So if you've already done that, you know the difference between a spread and a straddle for Series 7. You know the difference between a federal IA and a state IA if it's 65, 66, right? So you've done, just like Dean said, you've laid that base work down. Now we're going to concentrate, okay, how is that Fed IA going to show up on the test, right? How is that state IA going to show up on the test? How's the spread and the straddle going to show up on the test? So the more groundwork you lay before you come to our class. Dean's absolutely right. The one thing we could not control, right, is what people did before they come to see us. So the more prepared they are, the better everyone will progress through the class.
And Gerard, I'm a big believer of all the ways to master this information. A class is one of the most economical ways to do so. Right. Whether it's a live class or whether it's watching Brian's video courses. When you think about it, I got a guy, Gerard, right now, I'm tutoring for his entire Series 24. He's paying me $275 an hour to walk him through the entire Series 24. He's going to be into me. Not good news. I mean, don't worry about him. He's got plenty of money. But, 20 times 275, right? So if he would have come to a class, 2-day 24 class, it's just the economics are much better as well. So I would add to that. I think you made the right choice in terms of that class. It's dependent. You now, Gerard, are at risk too, because Brian and I are at risk with we don't know who's showing up. And you have a certain risk there too, because you don't know what instructor's showing up. So, you don't get Brian live, but at least when you use videos, it's consistent. Right? You can see him on YouTube. So I'm not saying there are, it's like any basket of people. There are good instructors and bad instructors. So make sure if you're going to Kaplan, for example, I'm teaching the 66 in March, February, March. Mark Esposito is one of my favorite Kaplan instructors. So if you're using Kaplan, I think everybody at Notman Marks is top notch. So, but check, feel free, Gerard. My email is dean@guruexamprep.com. Feel free to send me an email and tell me who your instructor is. They're all good. There's some of them. I've been gone so long now, Brian. There's some of them I don't know anymore. So
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Take a moment. Thank you all of you. I passed my exam. Whoa, we're getting a lot of testing victories today. Woo! Love it. I've heard the 66 is pretty hard. Well, everybody struggles differently, right? I mean, so Brian and I, we've had this discussion many times. There's no reason, Eric, not to have a pep in your step from passing your Series 7. You've accomplished a Series 7 testing victory. But, the Greeks have a concept called hubris. And, that's when you get a little too full of yourself and you go to the 66 and don't show that dragon, that 66 dragon, the respect you showed the Series 7 dragon. And that will bite you in the butt every time because there's enough overlapping information that people take a false sense of comfort and don't realize there's going to be other things, analytical methods, for example. And so just make sure you respect it. And then I think it's, Brian, some people think it's really easy. It's a huge test question, Eric. Huge standard deviation variance. There's people, piece of cake. Oh, hardest thing I've ever done. You go, okay, well, what exam was it? Right. Joy, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. We broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Our preferred platform is YouTube, but we always love it when we see people joining us from Facebook. Pass the 7. Woo! Second attempt. All right. So you passed 2 tests, your 7 and a test of your resiliency. Passing that test of your resiliency is an indicator of how well you're going to do in our business. Now studying for the 66. I did Dean's Kaplan. That's me. The Series 7 guru and Dean are the same guy, same walk. I'm watching recording. I'm struggling reading the book. Okay, well, a lot of people struggle reading the book. We think you should read the book. I would agree. It's not the greatest prose in the world, particularly on NASA exams. So you don't want to read the book. Well, maybe you watch more videos, right? You can watch my videos. And if you want to pay for Brian a little over $100, he takes you through it cover to cover in his video course. That's the way to do it. Really want one and done study tips. Well, in this case, Joy, I'm going to recommend Brian's video course on 66 because I think if you're not, listen, I want you to read the book. I know it's a struggle to read the book, but if you're not going to read the book, you got to lay the base we talked about. And so another way to lay the base, and this is where Brian's probably a little better than Dean on this. Brian really does a good job of distillation. He doesn't have anything in his videos that aren't testable and it goes cover to cover. Me, I have 1,400 videos, so it might be a little overwhelming even that to go to my Series 66 playlist, and there's 4 of them, and there's 10 exams, and there's, 20 lectures. And so that would be my recommendation. I would recommend you buy Brian's 66 video course as a supplement. Not only do you get the video course, but you also get a great PDF with class notes and a cheat sheet and a very good practice test that has very strong correlation to the actual exam. As your social media defender, Brian, this drives me nuts. This person passed, said they took your test. They found a few questions that were very close, if not exact verbatim, to the actual exam. The second paragraph, Brian's test, the phraseology was different.
Okay.
Uh, I, I, I want to say reread your first paragraph.
Different from what?
So that would be my. Well, Brian, I don't want you to pat your own back, but what do you think on this thing? She needs some way to lay case.
Yeah, we come across this quite a bit. Those textbooks are just.
I'll tell you what. Another joy. I'll put it in the video description. Brian and I did a podcast episode that takes you from cover to cover as well. That's free. I'll link it in the video description for you. So it's not tonight, tomorrow. Come back in the video description. I'll link to the podcast series where Brian and I just started at the beginning and walked all you through the exam. You're not going to pass watching our podcast series, but that's another way to get a nice overview of the content and how it's going to be tested. So watch that. That's a good.
Yeah, Dean and I are both big believers in reading the stuff because that's what we did. Back in the old days, that's pretty much all we had. So we're big believers in it, but we know people struggle through that content. It is the slog. There is no doubt about it. You got to get through it the best you can, right? Along with some practice questions and then supplement with Dean's videos or my videos, right, in the class notes. That's the best way to do it. It's not fun, but
it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
All is well, Isaac.
To anybody, right? You got to work for it. They don't give these licenses to just anybody.
Well, remember, right on, Brian. We want to be, Joy, the few and the proud, not the many and the humble, right? So this is a barrier to entry. So, Joy, I had a guy named Russell. Russell was a client of mine, and he invested $300,000 in this private placement. He knew my commission, Joy, was $24,000. Not completely 24 because, payout thing, but the commission is total. And he said, Dean, I could refer people to you and, you could give me some of that 24,000. I said, Russell, that is a great idea. So I handed him a stack of books. He says, what is that? I said, well, that's the book for the SIE. That second one, Russell, is for your Series 7. And that third one is for your 66. And you're going to need to pass all those exams. When you pass all those exams, Russell, and if you refer somebody as an associated person, my broker dealer, I'll pay you 50%, pay you $12,000. He goes, well, I don't want to do that. I said, well, I was counting on that you didn't. So now all I can say is thank you. Because we can't give concessions, discounts, and allowances to people who are not registered. So Brian's absolutely right. You just got to think, Joy, that it's a barrier to entry. Our securities industry, I think, is wonderful. Every once in a while, Joy, we'll have somebody come on the live stream. It hasn't happened in a long time, maybe because I wasn't too friendly. But they were bashing the securities industry. And I go, well, I don't know what live stream you think you're on, but this is a live stream for people who are in the securities industry. And I joke, if you're poor and you deserve to be rich, the securities industry is a great industry. I don't know an industry like ours where your sweat equity investment, here we go again, sweat equity, right? Reading the book and passing the test and watching the videos. You're putting in lots of hours to do that, but the payoff is enormous. So I'm not the person who would tell you that it isn't worthwhile because I think it is. I think Brian would agree that the securities industry has been very wonderful to us. I mean, sometimes we're enjoying ourselves and, we're saying, how blessed are we, 20 years, 30 years later. Sometimes we start doing the math. Let's stop the discussion. All is well, Isaac. All is well. I'm taking, when I see profile pictures like that, I'm always a little worried because you look so spirit-filled and happy that if you had a bad day, somebody said, well, hey, you got to change your picture. I'm taking your second attempt Friday. 64 first time, very nervous. I've been studying so much. Advice. Well, as we've been saying, as you're coming down the back nine, the most important thing is to be confident in the execution of your study plan. Please note, 64 means you got a good look at that SIE dragon. You know what he looks like. So now you just got to go get the job done. So you should count that 64 as it's a mess, but it's not like you were in left field anywhere. You got to be confident in yourself. And then most importantly, Friday, you have to be confident in your answers. Now, I'm a little concerned about studying too much. So much. A couple things. I would like to know what your practice test scores are. So I don't really know. I would like more data. Second thing, you can wear yourself out. You don't want to be circling the airport and running out of fuel. So you can kind of, wear yourself out. So I want you to make sure that you don't study so much that you're tired on Friday. This is Tuesday. You're on the live stream. Maybe give yourself Wednesday morning a refresh and reset. I'm not sure if you're a full-time studier or a part-time studier, but make sure you pace yourself that you're peaking Friday. Don't wear yourself out on Thursday. Brian, you have any thoughts?
That's exactly right. With Friday, there's a couple of days. We're working on our practice finals and remediating the practice finals.
Yeah, we would like a practice test score. Tomorrow's the time to do it, right? Because you're not going to be able to remediate on Thursday. So I would like you to do a practice test tomorrow, an intellectual inventory, get a score, and see where you're at. I don't know who your test prep vendor is. Don't panic. Many people get less than 70 on a practice test and still pass. As I said, we don't want any negative vibes. Ideally, you'd be in the mid 70s. And if you're in the mid 70s tomorrow on that practice test, I'd feel really good.
And don't forget the FINRA practice exam.
Yeah, maybe do that one. Right on. If you haven't done that one, go to the FINRA website and do that practice test. That'll give you a real good mark. So it's free. It's on the FINRA website. Go grab that if you haven't done it. Now, if you've already done it, it's not as predictive as it would otherwise be. So, somebody told me they got on 95. I go, well, how many times have you done it? You obviously have done that more than once. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Trader Looney. We're awesome, they say. All right. Woohoo. Hola, ¿cómo está, Sean? I'm supposed to have my Series 7 test. I don't know why I don't like that, Alexa. You're supposed to take it. What do you mean you're supposed to take it? You're going to take it. Right? Your last two practice exams were 68, 64. I've had many, many people pass, Alexa. Listen, I was working with a corporate trainer. We teach the Series 7, 4-day class, 5-day. Friday, they take a practice test. They're testing Monday. Right? On the practice test, of the 20 candidates, we had 12 who got 70 plus. And I told her, I said, they're going to pass. I'm not worried about them. Let's talk about the remaining 8. Of the remaining 8, 6, and here's you, Alexis. Of the remaining 8, 6 of them were between 60 and 70. And that's where you're at. I said, we're going to lose half of the 6. Statistically, we're going to lose 3 of those 6. And she goes, which 3 will save them? I said, it's statistics. I don't know who they are. If we knew who they were, we'd save them. Now, there's no reason for that other than they're going to get wobbly. 3 of the 6 are not going to finish strong. They're not going to be confident in themselves. On Monday, I was so happy they all passed. And they all passed because they didn't get wobbly. They were confident in their execution of their study plan, even though they got the below 70, right? And so I know that's not confident building, but they were still confident in themselves, confident in their answers, and they passed. The other 2 got below 60. Now, if you were below 60, I would tell you to probably reschedule, because that means you have a knowledge deficit problem. That means you don't know what you're being asked. You don't know what questions are being answers are being offered to you. So that's not the situation you're in with those scores. You do know what you're being asked. You do know what answers are being offered to you. And if you keep working between now and Thursday, you don't get down on yourself. Take that FINRA, sorry, this is 7. So, you don't have a practice test from FINRA. But really, you got tomorrow, as we just told our previous person, right? So tomorrow's your big day. Now, if you're feeling confident, maybe I would go for a redemption score tomorrow. It's high risk, high reward. But maybe you get one more mark, and maybe you're going to get over 70, and you're going to feel good. And if you don't, then you got to suck it up and say, if I were your corporate trainer, I don't know if you have one, but I would not let you move that date on Thursday, because I'd be confident you could still pass if you don't get wobbly. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because of the disparity between the textbook publishers and the real test, especially with the Series 7, right? You can always build in about 7% deviation between any of the scores, right? So you're scoring 68. You still got a pretty high probability of passing the exam.
Yeah, nobody scored Kaplan. Right on, Brian. Alexis, nobody score from a Kaplan practice test score I'm aware of goes down. So if you miss your mark, right, I don't think it's going to be lower than the Kaplan practice score. It would still be higher, unfortunately. Maybe it's 70. But you should pass. But Brian's right. When we could track, when Kaplan could track,
well, we used to
now, because we don't get passing scores, but they used to give you passing scores. And when we could do that, the variance was like 4 to 12. About 4 was to be on the low end and 12 on the high end on what people would pick up to the exam. I saw in a previous video that state AIs must register if they have one residential client. No, you are confusing, John, broker dealers with investment advisors. A lot of test takers do. So I don't know what video you're watching, but that's not correct. A state AI has a de minimis available, meaning if they have no more than 5 and no place of business, they don't have to register. So I'm clarifying, John, you are confusing broker dealers. If a broker dealer has one, not residential, retail, one retail client, the broker dealer must register in the state. So I guess my guess, John, if you go back and reread, you'll find out you're confusing, which happens. People get a mind meld. I always tell you what you got to do is get the cast of characters down. You know, am I being asked about a broker dealer, an investment advisor, an agent of a broker dealer, an investment advisor rep of state covered? So, Brian, your thoughts on that?
My cheat sheet.
Yeah. Or were you making that offer again?
I bet you I send out 5 or 6 every single day.
Well, so John, if you're watching this in replay, at some point, Brian is probably going to sunset this offer. But Brian is being kind enough to tell you that you can ask him. He has a really great cheat sheet. I hate that he calls it a cheat sheet because I just, don't like talking to regulators and you leave a cheat sheet somewhere. But that being said, it's really great. It's got little boxes. I use it tutoring a lot too because you basically just go to his cheat sheet. Oh, here's that person, and here's where that looks. And let me just add that. Brian, is this the correct email? I think it is. Is that Teskey? So if you send Brian an email, he's offering you free the cheat sheet. It does come in as PDF as well. I told you the PDF comes with his course, and that's 40, 50 pages of good stuff.
I'll tell you what test it is, yeah.
Yeah, but
now, again, this is for
recommend
63, 65, 66.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is only, there's no cheat sheet. There's no cheat sheet for anything other than the NASA exams.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay. Let me get, boom. Back to work we go. Boy, we got a busy night here tonight. Boom, boom, boom. Where we go? Who was that? Garrett. Jeff. Okay, there we go. I think we talked about that already. I got to activate the feature where it can send people to the top. There's John. There we go. Sorry so much about the 66 I'm about to take. And between the two of you, both brought me so much clarity. Can you came here? Oh, well, thank you so much. It's always very gratifying to us both when our content contributes to test-taking victories. That's the most important metric for us, Thomas, is that people pass their exams. It's a pretty easy business that Brian and I are in. If you pass your exam and we've contributed, you're a happy person. And I got to tell you, my channel is coming up on 6 million views. Can you believe that? 1.5 million hours of watch time, 45,000 subscribers. And unlike my competitors, they're all real. I don't buy fake subscribers. And, the reason is we help people pass their tests. And if you're happy, we love referrals. And as I told you, most of my tutoring business is almost exclusively referrals from people who are passing their tests. So thank you so much. It always helps when people tell us, yes, what you're doing, they give us a little validation. Most of the time we're up people. Every once in a while you have a bad day. And it's always nice to hear somebody loves you. Finishing the Kaplan book, doing practice quizzes is where I need to get better. That's exactly, Jeff, the way to do it. That's exactly. Any advice? Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. So Brian has in his study plan, right, that now you're doing your practice exam and quizzes. I don't like practice exam quizzes. I would prefer you're doing the quizzes for each of the units.
That's right.
And then seeing if you've mastered that unit before you move on to the next unit. Now, what Brian suggests is once you do unit 2, for example, and you do a quiz, that you do unit 1 and 2 combined custom quiz, so on and so forth. And then this is just me, I would prefer we're doing practice tests after we get through all that, about 7-10 days out, then start doing those intellectual inventories. So I wouldn't be doing practice tests at the same time I'm doing quizzes, unless I'm using those quizzes to remediate on a practice test score. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, that's exactly right. My practice finals, right, just like you said, 7 to 10 days out, after we've been through the textbook and the unit quizzes, and then we've taken a course, Dean's videos, Dean's playlist, my video course, a live class, or a combination thereof, right? And then, because you've got the big base, you then have consolidated with the class down to what is most likely testable. Now, let's go find that intellectual inventory and let's find where those weak spots are.
Yeah, then we start addressing them. Right.
That's exactly
right on. We talked about this, Julia. I would personally I think test numbers are ridiculous in corporate trainers. I know some of them say you should be in the high 90s, which is ridiculous because then you're just memorizing questions and answers. I like mid 70 as a minimum. Higher the better, but mid 70 is where I'd like you to be. What's your thought, Brian?
That's exactly what we look for, right? We're looking for mid 70s. When people come to me often for tutoring, they're generally in the high 60s, maybe even the low 70s, right? And I'm going, perfect. You're right on track. Your test date is 10, 12 days out. Perfect. Let's look at those practice final scores. Let's look at the performance tracker. Let's find those units you're weakest on, and let's nail those puppies.
I'm with you. You got to stay dedicated, disciplined, and organized. You can't be getting down on yourself when the scores are reasonable. You know, we had somebody we have people that have 2 or 3 days, but I had somebody today, they're 12 days out with those scores. And I told them the same thing. I said, why are you beating yourself up? You're right where you need to be. You're in striking distance. There we go. Woo! Yeah, SIE 6, taking the 63. Watch the playlist now. Love it. Love it. Taking 66 a month. May last 70, 81. I love it. Any tips to grab freebies? Well, I don't know. There's many freebies on NASA exams in general. I don't have any tips. Yeah. There you go. Get the cheat sheet we were just discussing.
Well, scoring 80, he probably doesn't need it.
Yeah, I think you're good. You're good to go. Could you provide some guidance on comprehending estate taxes and retirement plan taxes? I'm having difficulty grasping the concepts. I don't know how important estate taxes is. I'm assuming you're talking about a NASA exam because I wouldn't even think this is important in any way on a Series 7. Retirement plan taxes. For estate taxes, I would know life insurance is tax-free. Retirement plan taxes, I'd fly high here. So these aren't going to be major concepts. 59.5, RMD 73, unless it's a Roth. You have a cost basis or not, variable annuity, for example. So if you tell me, I don't know, Jesse, I hope I pronounced that correctly. You didn't tell me what exam you're taking. Brian may disagree with this, but I think if you tell me you missed your mark because of estate taxes and retirement plan taxes, I would think you have a bigger problem elsewhere. I just don't think there's a target-rich environment here besides the thing we all know is there, the 59, the 73, the 10% penalty, 10 years for an IRA that's inherited, not to the spouse, that kind of stuff. It's a lot of memory work is what I would say. Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually get this question quite often.
Do you?
I'm going to assume, Jesse, that we're talking Series 65 or Series 66.
Yeah, because it's not a concept on 7.
That's right. And I always run through qualified versus non-qualified and the tax ramification of that. But regardless, anything that you take out of any retirement plan is going to be ordinary income only, never capital gains, right? That's the biggest and easiest tax thing you can do. I had somebody email me the other day that told me that the inheritance versus the gifting stocks questions that I had were wrong, right? Because if you inherit stocks, you get an uplift in cost basis. Right?
Okay. So we had this question earlier, Brian, and I'm so with you. So whoever was asking us, I turned it into what's our ideal student. But I did tell about aggravation, and Brian, I you probably were aggravated as me. I can't tell you how many people on my channel will watch a video and tell me I am wrong. And it's obvious they don't have enough base knowledge to even know how silly it is that they're even telling me that they think I'm wrong. And I'm like, you need to read the book. You haven't watched
Just for future reference, if you ever have problems with one of my questions, please feel free to email and say, can you explain your answer, please?
Yes, please, Brian. I don't defend you in that regard anymore.
This stuff is time tested for 30 years.
Reach out to Brian. Brian's more than happy to discuss it with you. So, there are a couple questions I get all the time where people take issue with Brian, and we are not the same people. I say, well, listen, your issue is with Brian. So, call Brian. By the way, before you call him, I would tell you that the The question is valid. You may not like it, but it's a valid question.
Just ask me to explain the answer and rationale. That's
Right
the
on.
perfect way to do it. I have no problem with that.
Right on. Right on. Okay, let's see. Like every time I put up a banner, I have a problem finding myself.
Yeah, that's what's going on there.
Outside the word accept, do either of you have any test language tricks, favorites, or warnings? Well, yeah, I like to. One thing I like to do is sometimes, cover up the accept, and then look for what I'm true or false. Just read each of those things, A, B, C, D on my scratch paper, and then put a T, an F, or a question mark.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
question marks are helpful because I could get to a 50-50. So that's what I like to do sometimes in test language, just put true or false. And that helps with the grammar, by the way, because if I go back and it says accept, and I know I'm looking for the false, right? Or which of the following is true. So that would be one. And then just practice skills. So thanks again. A qualified investor be an investor company. Well, I don't know what that means, an investor company.
Investment company.
Investment company. And then, yes, all shareholders be qualified as well. No. It came up in one of my expletive videos as well. No, you can create an entity that could be a qualified investor where those people who are in it are not all qualified investors. I don't think it's testable in any way on the actual exam. Brian, your thoughts on this one?
No. Again, you mentioned this. It's about performance-based fees, really, right?
Yeah. That's the question.
Exactly.
Charlotte, North Carolina, 65. All right, Luis, we'll get some sleep. Be dreaming 65. Now, listen, sometimes this happens. You'll be taking your test tomorrow and you'll go, oh my God, I can't believe my mind has gone completely blank. I can't remember any of my 65 stuff. Now, that happens. I don't want you to panic. What I want you to do, Louise, is go, and I will astro project all of that 65 content back to you. Now, you're in Charlotte, so it might take me a minute or two to get the but, tonight, just get a good night's rest. Be confident in yourself. Be confident in your answers. Pass my S66. Woo! Taking a 7 a month, 20 years old. How exciting, Austin.
Wow.
Oh, to be 20 years old and getting into the securities industry. Woo! How can you expand your knowledge after finishing the testing journey? We have a book club. We're using reading Source Code by Bill Gates this month. Last month, we read She-Wolf. So I would say reading, whether it's a book group or you have titles. We have some titles I can recommend to you. But just always be a lifelong learner, right? It doesn't stop when you pass your tests. You gotta stay on top of current events. And, I always just used to tell my baby brokers, Austin, they got to start reading the Wall Street Journal, watching CNBC, got to be plugged into the ecosystem, right? So I have some titles. I'm more than happy to recommend.
Dean, if you don't mind me adding just real quickly, I did exactly the same thing. I think most of us who are in the industry that are at least reasonably successful in this industry do all of those things. I read so many outside books. Yeah. Right? If I heard about a book somewhere about the industry, and I read one that was published in 1927.
The Madness of Crowds.
That was a phenomenal book. I've read Warren Buffett's books, the biography that was not
Snowball. I think
there's so many books out there. I loved Peter Lynch. If anybody
everything, Peter Lynch is the former legendary. I should say former, not the dead sense of the word. Just not a Fidelity portfolio manager, but BTS.
Fidelity Magellan.
Great. Yeah. All his books are
amazing.
One of his favorite things that Peter Lynch says that I love is you should buy stock in a company that any idiot could run because someday some idiot will be. What he was saying is don't invest in things you don't understand.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. How difficult is 66? I think much more difficult, Abe. Again, I'm assuming you don't have a sponsorship because it's weird to be taking an SIE in a 66 and more of a challenge to be taking a 66 without having that 7 under your belt. Yeah. So, yes, I think the 66 is much more difficult than the SIE. Your thoughts, Brian?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Lone Star Galaxy going on to become a sales supervisor. Woohoo! Yeah, pass perfect. Yeah, just rinse and repeat. It sounds like you're a victorious test taker. So whatever you've done for those previous exams, I'd do the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I would just tell you the 10 is a slog. It's a real challenge. It's a lot of stuff. But feel free. We do the live stream for all FINRA exams, including 24s, 9s, 10s, 79s, 57s. We do it all. 65 tomorrow. I think we have that one already. I think. There we go. Cool. Okay, we're coming up on our 1 hour. I passed up at FINRA. It says valid expires. I never took those. Says valid. Well, the 6365 is the equivalent of the 66, Cameron.
Right.
So that's why it's saying that. It's showing that you don't need to take a 63 or a 65. Didn't meet the mark. Oh, we're going to get it this time, Jesse. We'll get it this time. You purchase Brian. Brian will get you over the hump for sure. He's going to drag you across that finish line.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah. No, you're not. You're not going to cross him again. You know.
I'm going to get him across the finish line, kicking and screaming.
Okay, we did that. Okay. Brian, when you join us, I usually give Brian the opportunity to tell us what our drawing. I apologize on the drawing. I finally hooked up with Marcel. My free activities come behind paid activities. And so when you win, you do not win an hour of tutoring at a date and time of your choice. What you win is access to any class on my booking page or any coaching call on my page. If there's no coaching call there'll be one up tonight. And that's Dean Tinney Setmore, tutoring at setmore.com. I'll do this and when we get this done. But that's what you win, right? So don't be calling me 6 months later and say I won the drawing, and you're looking for tutoring. Okay, let me go find the tool. I thought you were going to do Eagles. So that's it. Wait till I get the tool up, though, guys. Don't do that yet because I got to get the Wheel of Fortune up and running. Okay. All right, so let me get the Wheel of Fortune up and running.
I was born and raised in the Philadelphia area. A lifelong.
Oh, well, wow. You've got to be so excited.
Sunday was quite satisfying.
That is crazy.
Not to mention all the good Eagles.
All right, Eagles in the chat. If you want to win, free class on my booking page, any class that's there. Free access to one of our member activities. That would be the book club as well. And coaching call. Your choice. You can send me an email. Dean@guruexamprep.com. You shouldn't need me to claim your winnings because you should be able to go to the booking page and get that. Okay, let's go put the Wheel of Fortune up. Share screen. Boom. 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 There we go. Okay, then let's get rid of our friend Steven there. Boom. And we'll leave Brian and I up. Okay, anybody else want to participate? Let me put up where you can send me an email. You should need my email. And because you should be able to go to the booking page. Do I have the booking page? There we go. There's the booking page to claim your winnings. All right, 16. Are we ready for the draw?
Let's do it.
All right, 18. Last call. 19. Last call for alcohol. Oh, man, I forgot. I was going to do a nice Series 7 Guru where I had a student, Brian, who made me some tequila. Series 7 Guru tequila. Maybe I'll put a shopping page. Okay, here we go with the drawing. Gerard, I hope, Gerard, you weren't somebody that's going tomorrow because you can't claim your winning this evening. Right? So, hopefully, Gerard, you can go to the booking page or you can send me an email and claim your winnings for the drawing. All right, everybody, let's get back to Brian and I. Thank you so much. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. Remember, inch by inch, your exam's a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And Brian, you say?
Keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. We will see you. If you need questions answered, you could send them in early at explication request at guruexamprep.com, and then you go to the front of the queue. All right, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.